I call to order the meeting of the Borough of River Edge Mayor and Council, July 12th, 2021, regular meeting. I ask everyone to stand for a silent reflection on the needs and our responsibilities for the people of River Edge, and also for anyone who has passed or is in need of our concern. And then we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Statement of compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act. This meeting complies with the Open Public Meeting Act by notification on January 8th of this location, date, and time to the Ridgewood News and the Record, and by posting of the same on the municipal bulletin board and the borough website, and filing a notice of the same with the municipal clerk. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Here.
Councilman Kamiga,
Here.
Councilman Godier,
Here.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Here.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Here.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Here.
Okay, first up is minutes to approve. Mr. Sarlo, can we move the minutes as a block, or do we need to move them as individual pieces?
You can move them as a block, and if anyone needs to abstain on any of them, just they could point out which ones they are going to abstain on.
Okay, could I have a motion from Council President Kinigo and a second from Councilwoman Bastide to move the approval of Mayor and Council closed session June 14, 2021, approval of minutes of the Mayor and Council closed session June 22nd, 2021, approval of the minutes of the Mayor and Council regular Council June 28th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Oh wait, does anyone need to abstain from any of those votes? I don't think so, but.
Mayor, I'm going to abstain from June 28th. I just could not find those to review in advance, so I'm just going to abstain.
All right. Anyone else? All right, so roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes for June 14th, June 22nd, abstain June 28th.
Councilman Kamiga,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
All right, the proclamation awards, item 6, will be postponed to the next meeting to ensure that we can have as many of those wonderful athletes and their family members present. So we will just, since the proclamation doesn't need a formal tabling, I don't believe, Mr. Sarlo, I think we can just skip it in the agenda. Very good. Okay, so now we need to open to public comments on any item in the agenda. Could I have Councilman Gaudier move and Councilwoman Kaufman second to any public comments on anything on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kamiga,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, I surrender the meeting to Councilwoman Kaufman, our moderator.
So if anyone has a question, just raise your hand and I will allow you to speak, and or you can type it in the chat box or comment. Does not appear that there are any.
Excellent. Okay, could I have a motion from Councilwoman Montesano Cohen and a second from Councilwoman Kinsella to close to the public on comments on the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kamiga,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, appointments and personnel changes, item 8, A through C. We're gonna move this as a block. So when I finish reading it, could I have Councilwoman Bastide move and Councilwoman Monsanto Cohen second? Approve the retirement of Sergeant Kurt Wilhelm from the River Edge Police Department effective August 1st, 2021. Approve the appointment of Garrett Stuckey to the River Edge Junior Firefighter Program effective July 12th, 2021. Approve the appointment of Alexis Zakin to the River Edge Junior Firefighter Program effective July 12th, 2021. We have a motion second.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Mr. Kaniga,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, let the record show that mayor's appointment that I appoint Neil Carroll as the Deputy Emergency Management Coordinator effective July 12th, 2021. Okay, could I have first Garrett and Alexis, and then after that I'll have, well, actually Neil can join them too. So could I have Garrett and Alexis Zakin, Garrett Stuckey to please stand. If you have a family Bible and would like to place your left hand on it, raise your right hand. That would be great. If you don't, that's okay. And so I see Garrett. I believe I see Alexis. Very good. And do we have Neil? Let me see if I can find Neil. Neil, are you there? Neil, could you unmute? All right, we'll come back to Neil.
He's unmuted.
Great, you're unmuted. Neil, if you can turn on your camera, great. If you can't, that's okay. And if you could raise your right hand. And when I come to the position for Alexis and Garrett, I will ask you to say River Edge Junior Firefighter Program. And then after that, I will say for Neil, Deputy OEM. All right? All right. I'm so
Mayor,
sorry. this-
Mayor,
What?
Neil's muted again. He's going to have to speak, so I just want him to unmute.
Yeah, Neil, you got to stay unmuted for this, okay? Okay, is he unmuted now, Dario?
I am unmuted.
Ah, great. Okay, great. Okay, all three of you, would you please say aye in your name?
I, Neil Carroll.
Hi, Garrett Stuckey.
I, Alexis Zakin.
Good. Please repeat after me in unison. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
Only swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I
and that I, Garrett Stuckey,
will bear true faith and allegiance,
will bear true faith,
allegiance
true faith and allegiance
true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same,
and to the government
and to the
to the
government
government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
I, say your name,
I, Garrett,
Neil Carroll,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially
and justly
and
justly
perform all the duties
perform
all the duties
as,
as
and everybody, this will be just for the firefighters. They will say, as a member of the River Edge Junior Firefighter Program. Would the two firefighters say that?
as a member of the River Edge Junior Firefighter Program.
And Neil, will you say as the deputy OEM?
As the deputy OEM,
Now, all three of you in unison, to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me.
Hoorah.
Congratulations, Garrett and Alexis. Thank you so very much for joining our firefighters. It is a big commitment and we are very, very grateful and very, very proud of you. And to Neil, thank you for joining and taking the responsibilities of Deputy OEM. It is also a big responsibility and we are very, very grateful. You guys are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you wish. You do not need to. But you do need to stop by Borough Hall sometime this week and just countersign your oaths of office. All right? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I will sign my copy of them in a second. Let's move on so we don't hold up the public. All right, so agenda item number 10, monthly reports. We have a report upon request of the Library Board of Trustees, tax collector. These are both June 2021. So for the public's benefit, if they'd like to come down to Borough Hall and ask for a copy, they are more than welcome to do so. Okay, we have nothing on for a first reading. We have, oh, let me make sure I gotta get the corrected agenda. Yes. We have nothing on for first reading. We have something on for a second reading. And a second reading, of course, opens to the public. So in a minute, could I have Councilman Kaufman and to move and Councilman Gaudier second, once I finish reading the ordinance. So second reading and hearing. This will be for the hearing. Ordinance 21-22, an ordinance amending the supplementing the revised general ordinance of the Borough of River Edge, Chapter 192, drug-free zones. Could I have it opened and seconded?
So moved.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Steve,
yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Woman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, before we invite the public and surrender the meeting to our moderator, if Ms. Apratella would please give us a brief summary for the public's benefit.
Ordinance 21-22 establishes a designation of a school crossing at the intersection of Howland Avenue and Kindercamack Road. And once this ordinance goes into effect, Chief Walker can make the arrangements to have a crossing guard there for September.
So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Councilwoman Kaufman, we have someone who would like to speak.
So if anyone would like to speak, please just raise your hand and I will allow you to do so and or type it in the chat box. Does not look like there's anyone who would like to speak.
All right, then, would Councilwoman Kinsella move and Council President Kenigo second to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Steve,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes.
Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Woman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
All right, then. We now move to resolutions. We have resolutions 21-209 through 21-215. Is there any member of council who wishes to hold out for a separate vote? If not, we'll move them as a block. Hold on a second. Madam Clerk.
We opened and we closed, but we didn't adopt.
Oh, thank you. She caught, my mistake. We opened and closed, but we did not adopt. Excellent. Thank you for catching that. So could I have Could I have Councilwoman Montesano Cohen move and Council President Kenigo second to adopt ordinance 21-22?
So moved.
I'm sorry, second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Steve,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
Yes,
Councilman Dodier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Woman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Again, I apologize and thank you to our clerk for catching that mistake. We wouldn't have wanted to have to go back and do it all over again. All right, so does any member of council wish to pull out from a block vote 21-209 through 21-215? More of a question before we move it as a block. Hearing none, could I have a motion from Councilwoman Kaufman and a second from Councilwoman Kinsella to move and second 21-209 through 21-215 resolutions?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none, roll call.
Councilwoman Steve,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
yes,
Councilman Dodier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
All right, then, payment of the bills 21-216. If our finance chair, Councilwoman Kaufman, would move and one member of the finance committee second.
At a regular meeting of the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on July 12th, 2021. Be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge approve the following expenditures. Current account, $673,135.79. Capital account, $29,334.95. Grant fund, $1,672.75. Animal Control Fund, $11.40. Trust Other Fund, $4,443.88. Developers Escrow Fund, $6,087.50. Recreation Trust Fund, $12,762.39. So moved.
second,
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Steve,
Yes.
Councilman Kenigo,
yes,
Councilman Dodier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Very well then. So now we move to item number 14, discussion, the River Edge Police Department Table of Organization. With the council's consent, I'll turn the meeting over to the Chief of Police and let him begin with a presentation. Is there objection? Consent is assumed. Chief, you may begin.
Thank you. First, I obviously want to thank everybody once again for giving me the time to present in front of you. We have discussed this to a certain extent in the past, so I'm going to get right into what I want to present with you. Specifically, it's a table of organization of the police department, and I'm looking to make some changes to it. As we stand now in chapter 21 of the Borough Code Book, we actually have 26 officers on the table of organization, 1 chief, 0 captains, 2 lieutenants, 6 sergeants, and 17 patrol officers. I'm looking to bring back the position of the captain, keep 2 lieutenants, move from 6 sergeants to 5, and move from 17 patrol officers, really 16. We've never had that 17th. So moving from 16 to 15. There would be obviously a substantial savings by not having that 1 officer hired, but more importantly is the reason for the captain. Right now with our 2 lieutenants, it goes from chief to lieutenant. We have a lieutenant that oversees patrol, 1 that oversees the detective bureau. If I'm not here, it'll go to the senior lieutenant, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Generally, you have 1 lieutenant that's overseeing a division so completely, each division, and then all of a sudden they have to oversee the department. And it's not that they're stepping on the other lieutenant, but they're stepping on operations of, what that lieutenant is doing daily. Generally, they're not involved in that. As for example, if I'm the Detective Bureau lieutenant and the chief isn't here, now I'm overseeing the department. The patrol lieutenant who oversees patrol day in and day out, something major, something important happens, that lieutenant goes down there and starts questioning the other lieutenant potentially on what's going on and has some questions. That's okay. We've always worked well together, but it's not the best practice on a way to have a table organization. In addition to that, so that's just one small part of it, is the second in command. Everyone knows that I want to move forward with accreditation, and the captain would play a big role in that. It takes approximately 1.5 to 2 years to get the department fully accredited. It takes many man hours, and it has to be overseen by someone. And that continues. The accreditation every couple of years, you have to make sure everything is in place. I would also look to have the captain oversee a Bureau of Professional Standards, which is something that I've spoken about putting in place in the department. That oversees ethics, it oversees certain areas of training, and in fact is a part of the accreditation. Evaluations, which we have not had for years and are so important to just the officers, really their health as an individual in the department, and also for promotions. It's big. If we had that, I think our promotions would go a lot smoother. It allows for productivity to be there, for the officers to feel that they're being given a positive evaluation for things. It lets them see where they might be weak. We work together as a team to move forward with things of that nature. Overseeing the body worn cameras and the MVRs, we know we're about to go out and purchase those body worn cameras that are mandated by the Attorney General this year. That's a big project. We're ready to purchase them. However, once you purchase them, it comes with a lot of work. Our MVRs with the mobile video recorders, the patrol cars each have 5 cameras on them now, and then we're going to be putting a camera on the officer. The way we've basically been using those is just if there's discovery, we take a look at them and we send them out to attorneys, and they get involved in court cases or maybe an internal affairs investigation. There's so much more to be taken from those cameras and those audio that leads to training. It leads to seeing where maybe an officer is deficient. And it saves us if we can follow a particular officer who might have a concern to get him on the right track, or use different motor vehicle stops or different situations and domestic violence incidents to train the officers on how to be more efficient and more productive. That's a huge undertaking, though. Right now, if one of the lieutenants gets involved in that, that's it. He's just taken out of commission for a period of time. Sometimes you have to watch those live time, and that can be hours. So now he's not overseeing his area of responsibility as a lieutenant. The idea of being efficient, accountable, and more productive by having that captain in place, you're allowing those 2 lieutenants to be proactive, much more proactive than we are. We tend to respond right now, and we can be proactive. It's happened in the past where we're having quarterly meetings or seasonal meetings. What are we looking at this year coming up for the schools? What are we looking at from the Detective Bureau? What have we been getting hit with? A lot of frauds. Let's be proactive. Let's put together some classes that we can give to the seniors or to the churches or whatever that area may be. But that's an area where the lieutenants can step up and be more productive with that. But they can't do that if they're constantly just chasing their day, and that tends to be what happens now. And I could go on about the position. Certainly, I'll leave it to you guys if you have more questions about it. But that's basically what the lieutenant would be. The captain would be looking at. The schedule, which is a monster. He would be overseeing sick time, which we take place and we record it. It needs to be looked at more closely. Evidence room is something that would be taken away from the lieutenant, a huge responsibility. In fact, it needs to be audited. So it's somewhere where he would be definitely the job function is going to be filled, and rightfully for that position. Those things that I've mentioned, they can't be completed by an administrative sergeant. He doesn't have the authority in that position. because he can't be telling lieutenants what to do. He can't be telling the other sergeants what to do. So that just wouldn't flow. So that administrative sergeant would be in fact the sergeant that we remove that position and replace it with the captain. The savings I've mentioned goes in the area, and I've mentioned this before. I've learned this from Alan Negrian to give a low and a high number on these types of savings, because as we know, you can hire a young patrolman, but they eventually, they get the top grade. So to start off with, when we look at the captain's position itself, right now in the SOA contract, I think it's about $1,700 more than the lieutenant. So that's not substantial, but we're replacing the sergeant. So that's a little bit more money. How much? About 14,000. So we're gonna go up from one sergeant to a captain, which is about 14,000. But remember, by not hiring that patrolman, on the low end, we're saving $60,000 out of the gate. And on the high end, if that patrolman was to mature, we're saving somewhere in the excess of 175,000. I'm not, a big numbers guy, but I can, I got that from looking at they're hard numbers, meaning that, just subtract and add. It's not that difficult to figure that out. I don't want to thank Chris Baglieri for giving me some numbers to work with. So it's, I'm not asking for to spend more money. In fact, we're going to save money. And again, I'm looking to be more efficient, more accountable, more productive. And I think this is the way to go. That officer that we're not hiring would be the second traffic officer. Okay. And the traffic position that we have right now is an outstanding position. And I'm sure a big part of that is Officer Diamond, who does a great job with it. That's what we need out of the traffic position, though, is somebody who puts together the plans and the ideas and takes care of the ordering and the signs. It's not so much the enforcement that comes out of that position. The enforcement is more so the 12 patrolmen that we have. There's 3 patrolmen in every squad with a sergeant that oversees them. The squads basically run independent. The lieutenant does the best that he can to make them consistent across the board. But if he has more time, again, he's game planning. When I was the patrol lieutenant, I had the opportunity to try different things. And one of the things that I liked and I thought worked successful and I like to bring back is when you give a responsibility to a particular squad. So imagine now you give a particular squad the responsibility of addressing pedestrian crosswalks around town, and they're going to game plan and how they're going to enforce that, even if they have to borrow another patrolman on certain days. That squad now can do that, and that lieutenant can focus on giving out these different jobs, if you would. Add remember what I said of the evaluations, and now that squad has something, a reason to produce, all right, because they're going to be evaluated. The patrolmen are going to be evaluated on what their enforcement is on. And when we're talking about enforcement, we could talk about community policing. We could talk about whatever we want to plug in, but it's done in an efficient way. It's done in a productive way, and there's accountability. So now you come to promotions, and when you have those officers and those sergeants, even, what has it shown? When you've been given these different tasks to do these different concerns around town, you shined with that, or maybe you didn't. That's not really there. We just discuss it now or look at it quick, but we don't really have a mechanism to measure it like we really should. And that's done in many police departments. I really think the evaluations will create quite a difference in the efficiency and effectiveness of the police department. And in fact, give the officers something to look forward to when they know they're going to be presented with their evaluations. So that's a lot said right there, but that's what I'm looking to do. I think I covered just about everything I wanted to quickly. And if you guys have any questions, certainly here I am. You're muted, Mayor. Sorry.
Thank you for helping me with that. That's correct. I was muted. If any member of council would like to ask a question or make a comment, please raise your hand and I will call on you. Council President Kanihan.
All right, I guess I'll start. Chief, thank you for the presentation. And, I'm all for this as long as the numbers work out. Like you said, I have no doubt that they will. But I think that and I don't mean to speak for the rest of the council, but I would assume that the council would feel just a little more comfortable vetting all these numbers with Chris Battaglia, having him kind of confirm everything. And then we put it to a vote once we have word from our financial officer. But, you know, and again, I'm not speaking for anybody else on the council, but as far as I'm concerned, it sounds like a good idea to me. You're the new chief. You want to run the department the way you want. And, you know, I certainly have no expertise in this area myself. So if you think that's something that you need and it's going to make the department better, more effective, more streamlined, and it's going to help us get to accreditation, I'm all for it as long as, you know, Chris can confirm everything you've said financially. And even if you're off there, you know, I'm still for the discussion. So I would propose that we do that. We get our CFO in to give us an analysis from a financial perspective. And then we'll have all the pieces to the puzzle to make a decision, and maybe we carry it to the next meeting.
I agree with our council president as well.
Councilman Godier, do you wish to say more?
No, Mayor, thank you.
Any other member of council?
I
I think
agree.
that- Yeah, I'm sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
Okay. No, I agree. I think we should wait to hear from our CFO.
Right. Councilwoman Bastide?
Yeah, I just would echo Council President's comments that this sounds like a very smart decision, and we want to be supportive of you, Chief, in giving you the tools that you need to be successful and to put your best foot forward and the best foot forward of all the members of the department. And I would ask that we do get the numbers from the CFO and then be prepared to move forward in August at the next meeting.
Councilwoman Montesano Cohen or Councilwoman Kinsella?
Totally agree. I think the accreditation path and the changes that the chief has proposed make sense on paper. I also would like to see that Chris come back to us with an analysis to support this.
If I could, one more thing, Mayor.
Just 1 second. I don't know if
Sure.
Councilman Kinsella wants to say something.
I was just going to concur with everyone, what they said. I definitely would like to see the numbers as well. And just a quick question, Chief. With this taking another officer off the roster there, would this create additional overtime? Do you
No,
think?
the traffic officers are not counted for the patrol squad manpower. While they can fill in, I have not found that to be as substantial savings as I think they were perhaps expected to be. And the sick time is another area where I feel, again, with evaluations and you know, better supervision, I think we can address that.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Okay, so Chief, did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, the one thing I just forgot to say is the actual position itself would be I would look to have an elevation of Lieutenant Casey from lieutenant to captain. He is the only lieutenant. He just tested with me. And I think the importance of that is so that you're aware we're not going to have to go through another grand testing process. I have spoken tentative, you know, with both bargaining units with no guarantees, but in discussing with them that if this was to take place, would they support that? And their answer to me is yes, they absolutely would. That may take something. I'm not sure if Mr. Sarlo would you know, offer that. May take some type of agreement that they sign off on, which they realize that and they're willing to do. So it would not have to create another whole testing process. We're going to go into lieutenants and sergeants as it is, but we would just be making 2 lieutenants instead of 1.
So Chief, I believe that would actually fall to the responsibility of determining that would fall to Mr. Giacobbe as our labor attorney. Mr. Sarlo, would you agree with that?
Yeah, just a couple of things, Mayor. First, I agree that there should be a captain position in there. And I think I was surprised when it was initially eliminated. Having a second in the command for the chief is vital. 2, eventually you will need a promotional policy in place. And that's down the line. If the council chooses to elevate Casey to the captain position with an agreement with the PBA, we can talk with Matt about that, and that could be done. But going future, you're going to need to have a promotional policy in place, for the future. And the other thing that you just may want to consider is your table of organization has 17 officers. And I think you were indicating you were going to go to 16. You don't need to fill the officers in the table of organization. You don't need to fill them. So if they're there, they still don't need to be filled. But it gives you that flexibility in case you need to fill it, in case things change and you need to hire somebody, you have a lot of potential either retirements or extended sick leave or disability or so forth like that. So though it may be in there, you don't need to fill it. So you just may want to consider keeping it at 17, and it gives you, the mayor and council, the flexibility if you need to go up to that number. You certainly could stay at 15, 14, whatever you so choose. So it's just something that gives you extra flexibility.
Sure.
So would the council be open to allowing Mr. Sarlo to draft a revised ordinance that would not be put on the agenda for August, but could be sent to the council for thoughts and comments that would include all 17 officers? Would the council be open to that sort of head start?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would be a good idea.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to task our BA, Ms. Apatola. Would you please let Mr. Baglieri, Bagtelier, I'm going to get his name wrong, I apologize. Chris, would you ask Chris to write up a report and send it to the council before the August meeting, preferably a week before the August meeting. So because of vacations and everything else. So that will give the council a proper amount of time to review it. Mr. Sarlo, if you could come up with a draft of the table of organization, and also if it could come a week before the August meeting, that would be preferable, but not as needed as Chris's work. And Lizette, do you have any comments or concerns before we, and then I'll go back to anybody else who has a comment or concern.
No, I don't have any.
All right, did I hear a voice?
I'm sorry, Mayor, you meant a draft of the ordinance, not the table of organization, because we're talking about possibly leaving it the same, unchanged, other than.
Well, the ordinance would be.
adding the captain.
Yeah, the table of organization, it would be simply a draft that would include the captain in all 17 positions. Council can then have that in addition to Chris's report to reflect on. And then if the council is so inclined, it would then move it, create an ordinance that would go on for the first meeting in September. Would that be okay, Council President?
Sorry, I'm on my laptop today, so I'm not quite as used to it. Yes, it would be okay.
All right, good. Is there objection? Hearing none, then that's how we will proceed. Thank you, Chief, for coming. If you need to leave, we certainly understand you are busy with many things. If you'd like to stay, of course, you're welcome to.
Thanks to all of you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, I just want to be clear. It's going to be a chief.
So Chief, if you could repeat to Mr. Sarlo again.
Captain, 2 lieutenants, 5 sergeants, and you're going to.
And we're going to keep the 17 patrol officers.
Go ahead.
Recommendation. Mr. Sarlo, you're frozen. Chief, did he have that right?
Yes, so it's a chief, one captain.
And that can always change. Right, you could change that number.
All we're doing to the current table of organization is adding a captain. Everything else remains, oh, no, I'm sorry, subtracting a sergeant.
And again, it gives, if you want to reduce that officer at between now and September, we can do that. That's not a problem. But I'll keep it at 17 for now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody else with a comment before we move on to item 15? All right, item 15, new business, River Edge Fire Department purchase of a new fire truck. Ms. Apatella, our business administrator, did lead in that discussion.
Yes, with this year's capital budget, enough money has been accumulated to purchase a new fire truck. And the fire truck would be purchased through a national cooperative. And when dealing with a national cooperative, there are extra steps that need to be taken before putting a resolution on the agenda. So what we need to know is that the vendor is offering a discount of $18,085 and change if the borough prepays 75% of the total cost. So what they're seeking is a payment of $484,000 upfront and in order to get the discount. So it was reviewed by the CFO and he deferred to our borough attorney, and Mr. Sarlo had referenced that the governing body had a similar situation back in 2014. And based on his research and assessment, he recommended that the governing body err on the side of caution and not enter into the prepayment of the contract. And that opinion still stands with him today. So in order for me, the chief and deputy chief to move forward in coordinating the purchase, we need consensus on how to proceed, whether you uphold Mr. Sarlo's recommendation or you want to consider this discount, which would be in the amount of a little over $18,000.
I just want to point out that I believe the mayor and council did do the 75% prepay last time, despite our lawyer's recommendation. And the vendor has been vetted by the co-op, so that should give us some sense of security about the stability of the vendor.
So Councilwoman Kaufman, you're in favor of moving forward with the 75% prepayment?
Yes.
Right. Are there other opinions? Council President.
What exactly is the reason why you don't want us to, Tom?
No, at the time, Dario, in 2014, there were two reasons. Number one is, first, it's allowed. Well, let's back up. There's nothing that says you can prepay, and there's nothing that says you cannot prepay. And we did a lot of extensive research at the time. Obviously, the benefit is the savings. The potential downside is if the company goes into bankruptcy, you've just lost a large chunk. In 2014, one of the major fire makers, American LaFrance, I believe it was like a year before, went into bankruptcy. So that was back then was one of the issues was a lot of these fire truck companies were not on steady financial footing. And that was one of the things to consider. And the other thing to consider was in your standard fire contract is you're paying as you go. And when the frame is done, you pay 20%. When the body's there, you pay another 25%. So they have to hit targets to get paid. By prepaying, there could be potential, or you could experience maybe a little bit more delays than normal because they're not hitting they may not hit those targets on those dates without any penalty or without not getting paid. So the council did say, you certainly, my thing is, I couldn't endorse it because if the company did go bankrupt, it falls down on me without notifying them. So that's the only reason at that time I told the council, and they decided, you know what, savings is worth it. We're going to proceed.
So, all right. So we're going forward with this either way, and we're either saving 18,000 or we're not saving 18,000, and we're buying ourselves peace of mind, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Correct.
Okay.
There you go. You take away
And
the safety valve.
And 18,000 is what kind of a percentage of savings on our purchase?
Well, 10% would be 40,000, 20% would be 10%, 5% would be 10,000. No, 5% would be 20,000. So a little under 5%, just a hair under 5%.
We also would get a performance bond that would protect us, wouldn't we?
It would protect you for the overall. It won't protect you for if there's delivery, if there's delays and so forth like that. But, I don't know, maybe we could look at the contract, see if we could put penalty clauses in which they'll probably object to with regard to it. But listen, if the fire department's comfortable and do we know who the company is? Because they were with
believe it's
Pierce in 2014.
Pierce.
Am I assuming this is?
I believe
so
it
it's another
is, and
pumper?
they're getting it through Sourcewell. Chief Sanders and Deputy Chief Caridi are on if you want to move them over as panelists.
So before we do that, so the same company
Why
that
don't we
went
do
back.
this in case-
The company that went bankrupt was American LaFrance. They did more hook and ladders. And that was back in 2012, 2013. Back then they went. And back then, a lot of companies that were producing fire trucks were not on a couple years ago. And that was my concern. And at that time, I just wanted to let the council know, let them make the decision, the pros and the cons, and they decided.
So at this point, ask the council a question.
I have no problem.
Is the council willing to allow Chief Sanders, and I believe it's Chief Caridi, to speak to this? Is the council willing?
Yes.
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 All right. Council President Kanigo, if you have a question to ask Chief Sanders or Chief Caridi before I ask them to speak about it in general, feel free to pose that question.
I mean, my basic question is there any worry that this company is going to go bankrupt? I mean, you guys know these companies a little better than we would.
Chief Sanders, Chief Caridi?
No, there would not be any worry about them going bankrupt.
I mean, I understanding that you're not necessarily an expert, and we all understand that, just knowing the field a little bit better, I feel comfortable. So, Mayor, whatever you need to ask.
All right. So, before I go, does any member of council wish to ask a question? Mr. Sarlo, Chief Sanders, Chief Caridi, or Ms. Apratella?
I have a question.
Yes, please do.
So I think, Tom, this is to you. You mentioned about the possibility of having a penalty of sorts in the agreement. Is that something out of the ordinary, or would that become an issue if we pursue something like that?
I don't think Pierce would agree to that. I mean, they do experience delays in that these trucks are delayed. So looking to say you're going to get a penalty if the frame's not done on this date, frame's not done on that date. There could be, I don't know if they would agree to that. The last one I negotiated for my town, we were able to put in penalty clauses, but it was a much different circumstance. It was a ladder truck that was purchased by Chicago and then was backed out at the last minute, and they started building it, and they needed, obviously, so they needed somebody to take it over, and they gave us a lot of incentive to take that truck over. So at the time we could put in there, but I'm quite certain they're going to say absolutely not. We're giving you a discount up front. We're not gonna.
No, and I don't want to create a situation where that becomes an issue because of pursuing that avenue.
And if the department's comfortable knowing that, there may be a delay here and there, and they stay on top of it with them. And I'm sure they have a very good relationship with the liaison with Pierce. So.
Yeah, so I trust Chief Caridi's and Sanders' opinion to pursue the way that with the discount, understanding what the potential risk may be. But I agree with Council President Kanigo as well.
Any other member of council have a comment or a question?
I have
We're
a,
going to put this to a vote, of course, a quick vote, but we're in the debate stage or informational stage. Councilwoman Kinsella, I believe?
yes, I just have a quick question for Tom. And this has to go to not necessarily a penalty, but would milestones be the same thing as a penalty? Just say, you know, these things should be done at a certain date? Or is that something that they definitely will not agree to?
No, they would put it in there, but if there's no penalty, if it's not done on that date, you know, what's
What's the purpose?
what's
Got
the
it.
incentive, right?
Right.
But
Okay.
usually there is a timeline of delivery as to when, because the department usually, and the chiefs can speak about this, I believe they usually go out and inspect. They'll go out and inspect it. And that's part of the contract that Pierce will send them out and inspect it somewhere part of the process. So obviously we're notified as it goes. I'd have to look at the other contract that we did in 2014 and see what, it's going to be similar to that contract.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, I'm pretty sure national co-ops do not allow penalty clauses. And in 2014, there was no penalty clause with that purchase.
Thank you, Chief.
So the question, unless council has another question. No. So the question I have for Chief Caridi, Chief Sanders, and Mr. Sarlo. I have several. The first is this. Is it within the realm of possibility that we could negotiate 60% instead of 75% with the same discount? Or is this not something that they are willing to negotiate?
Negotiate, meaning?
So they're asking for 75% down for $18,000 credit. Could we, is it something that we could negotiate for 60% down and $18,000 credit?
I don't believe that would be possible.
Bill, you feel the same way?
Yeah, I think with the co-op, that's how they've worked in the past and they continue working with it.
All right. Mr. Sarlo, any comment?
Everything's negotiable, but I'm sure they're dealing with the local sales rep. And it's probably their standard.
Okay. All right. Having heard that, then Chief Caridi and Chief Sanders, could I just ask you for the record to state that you are recommending to the council that we go with the 75% down with a credit of approximately $18,000?
I will agree to that.
Yes.
So you're both recommending, council, that we make this motion. Okay. So
Absolutely.
okay, great. So having discussed this, could I have a motion from any member of council to direct our CFO and our business administrator in concert with our chiefs to move forward with the offer of 75% down with a discount of approximately $18,000? Could I have a motion and then a second?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It is open for debate. Is there debate? Hearing none. Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastu,
Yes.
Councilman Kamigo,
Yes.
Councilman Dottier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Chief Sanders and Chief Caridi for coming and making this recommendation. You are welcome to stay if you wish to do so. Councilwoman Kaufman, if you could move them back to attendees from participants, and we are grateful for your participation. Open to, is there any, we're going to table the old business, the fire department alcohol policy until August, unless there is objection. Is there objection? Hearing none, so moved. Is there any other new or old business that any member of council wishes to raise? Hearing none, we will move on. Could I have a motion from Councilman Gaudier and a second from Councilwoman Bastide to open to the public for any public comment?
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide,
yes.
Councilman Kamigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, I surrender the meeting to Councilwoman Kaufman, our moderator.
So if anyone has a question, just raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak or comment, or you can type it in the chat box. Does not look like we have any comments.
All right, could I have Councilwoman Montesano Cohen move and Councilman Gaudier second to close to the public?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kamigo,
Yes.
Councilman Gaudier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
Okay, does any member of council have a comment that they would like to make at this time? If so, please raise your hand. Councilwoman Kaufman.
Just wanted to say congratulations again to Garrett Stuckey and Alexis Zigan, and very happy to see our fire department growing.
Yes, I agree. Councilwoman Bastide.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank everyone involved for the fabulous 4th of July festivities we had. It was really tremendous to see so many residents and guests lining Bogart Road and Continental Avenue to bring back a wonderful Independence Day celebration. To all the participants, again, to Grand Marshal Ed McDermott, who gave a great speech, and I hope everybody really enjoyed his heartfelt words, and to Carolyn Beldonza, our Recreation Director, and all of her volunteers on the July 4th committee, to our DPW, to our police department, the fire department, and everybody that helped bring a little bit of that wonderful celebration back to River Edge. Look forward to many more years of July 4th celebration. So just thank you to them.
Any other member of council, please raise your hand. If not, I'll just say a few things. Go ahead, Councilman Gaudier.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank Chief Walker for his presentation tonight. I would like to echo Councilwoman Bastide's sentiments about the July 4th celebration and parade. I would like to thank the DPW for, they've been doing a lot of great work. All of the 2021 road paving is complete, and striping on those roads should be completed this week. And since our last meeting, we had a tremendous amount of trees down in various storms, and they did a great job clearing those trees out of our parks, off the streets. So I thank them for that. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Mayor, I just have one
Sure.
to say. I just want to congratulate our public health nurse, Arlene Faustini, on her Hometown Hero Award, which she
Yes.
received on Friday.
Excellent. And anyone else? Okay, I want to echo what everybody said. Of course, I think Arlene is wonderful. Ed McDermott was wonderful. So great to be able to honor both of them in different ways for what they've done for the town, what they've done for the people of River Edge. I certainly agree. I welcome our new firefighters and our new OEM and all the other comments that have been said. I'd like to just put on the record that the car show was a great success. It occurred in Ordell at our joint high school, so Riverdale High School. I was there for about an hour, and it was delightful. It was a really well and great location for it. So great job to the Cultural Society of River Edge for what they did with that. So Also, Chief, is Chief still here? Yes, the Chief is still here. I'd like to congratulate the Chief and our officers for getting a grant and doing some public safety pedestrian enforcement. And Chief, I'd like to give you 2 minutes. If you could just talk about how we got the grant and how successful this was. And in fact, that you kept it in one location because it was so successful, and how the residents came up to you and thanked you for this. And you could just chime in for 2 minutes on that, that'd be great.
Sure. So I had seen it, I was visited Chief Clancy in the Milford about a month ago, and he was actually stopped in. I met him on a corner because he was watching his officers participate in the pedestrian crosswalk detail. And I brought it back, mentioned it to Pat Diamond, and he was completely aware of it. It took some training, which I believe he either had or he quickly obtained. And then he applied for a grant with AAA, and we got the grant. So it paid for the overtime for the officers. We had, in total, I think it takes quite a few officers. It takes like 6 officers, and we had somebody from AAA monitoring it. So it's 2 officers on each end. Basically, there's an officer in the detail we did was an officer by the yeshiva, 2 officers by the yeshiva, 2 officers down by Van Buren and Kinderkamak, and then 1 officer calling the plates as the cars violated, and 1 officer being Officer Sanchez, who was the pedestrian, if you would. And she wore, interesting, you have to wear a bright shirt. So she had the brightest green I've ever seen, the shirt that she was wearing, and she just would walk back and forth, her and the gentleman from AAA who had an orange shirt. And I think, well, I was just looking for it. I had the numbers in front of me, but I believe it was somewhere around 50 some stops, and they wrote around 40 tickets and gave out a bunch of warnings. There were residents that had stopped and spoke to them, thanking them, talking about how their kids riding their bikes across Kinderkamak, they felt good about it. It's one of those things, guys, where it's definitely a quality of life thing. And I think letting our officers look into traffic officer or hearing about it like I did, it's something we can expand on. And the great thing about it is that the tickets bring in money. When that's not the main thing about it. It's the enforcement, getting people to realize it, and we didn't pay for the overtime, which is great. So we'll be looking to do more things like that, certainly. Thank you.
I think that's outstanding. I think that's just outstanding. So that's the end of my comments. I introduced something new, so if a council member would like to unmute themselves and just say something quickly, they can. If not, I call for a motion and second for adjournment.
So moved. Congratulations, Chief.
Second.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Bastide,
Yes.
Councilman Kinico,
Yes.
Councilman Godier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kaufman,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kinsella,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cohen.
Yes.
All right, thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend, week rather, and see you all in August, if not
Good night,
before.
everybody.
Have a great
Good
week.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Be safe.
Good night.